Yes. There we go. So yes, we're here to come alive. Are y'all alive?
Yes.
Pinch yourself, see. Pinch someone else. Not too hard. Yes. CSLDallas is alive. We are radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, transforming lives. Yeah, let's do that all together. We are radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, transforming lives. Yes, and today we're talking about transforming lives. Wow. Isn't that good?
Yes.
It is good. It's very good. I love this. You know, Lainey brought this song forward, and I was like, oh my God, I love that song. And how perfect for today. Because we're here to come alive. And I took liberty to change one word. It's actually see, but I changed it to. Because once you find it, you'll never be the same. And you can actually prove that there's more to you. I wonder what the it is. Once you find it, you're never the same. There's this. I found a quote from Wayne Dyer about transformation that I really loved. And transformation literally means going beyond your form. In this case, I know that transformation means going beyond our human form. And just like, if we just stick with the human form for a second, think back as far as you can, or pictures that you've seen of you. And think back from the very first picture or memory of you in this physical form up till now. Have you transformed?
Yes.
A little bit? Would you go back?
No.
When you're dreaming with your eyes wide open, you don't go back. And yet, there's transformation in the physical form, and there's transformation in the spiritual form as well. We transform as we realize our divinity. We realize the truth of who we each are, this magnificent individualized expression of God, of Spirit, the one, the universal, whatever we choose to call it. Ernest Holmes calls it the thing itself sometimes. There are 99 names for God in the Science Mind textbook that at least one of my colleagues has brought forward, and we share. There could be more than 99, but he found 99. I thought that was good enough effort. And so to go beyond where we are, to keep growing, to become more in alignment with the truth of who we are, is transformation. I want to introduce you to somebody. Click. Gary's like, no click. Okay, the click will come back. He'll keep trying, and then he'll click, and it's okay. I want to tell you about someone. I want to tell you about someone very near and dear to my heart that I hold with such gratitude and such appreciation for. He truly changed my life, even though I was only around him for a very short period of time. His name is John Neese. Let me tell you about John Neese. John Neese was a man that I met at my neighbor's house when I was invited over for dinner in Oakland, California. And Gary, when you can click, just click, okay? All right. And so I went to the neighbor's house, and John Neese said, "Hi, I'm John Neese." I'm like, "Hi, I'm Karen Fry." And literally, like I think the second or third sentence out of his mouth, I don't know why, but it was like, "Well, I've been a Presbyterian for 20 years and I've given it up." That was a strange start to the relationship. And I went, "Great, John, what you doing now?" He said, "Well, I'm going to this place called First Church of Religious Science, Oakland. I went, thank you very much, John. I don't do that kind of stuff. I won't tell you really what I said. It's okay. I'm on camera. And he said, no, really. You got to go. I just met this man. He knew nothing about me. My neighbor knew very, very little about me. This was the first time I was at my neighbor's house for dinner that I was invited over. He said, no, you really need to go. And you need to go in the morning because it was a Saturday night. I was like, hey, John. That was January 13th of 2007. See, I know the day because I did. I said, okay, I'll go. The next morning, I walked into what was then called First Church of Religious Science, Oakland. I mean, that's a mouthful in and of itself. And I walked in on January 14th, 2007. And when I walked through the doors, the voice within me, which I spoke about the last time I spoke, that I follow no matter what, the voice within me said, this is it. No more wandering, because I was finding a place where I could be a minister, because I knew I had the call. But the voice within said, this is it, stop wandering, get busy now. Okay. Now, when I walked into the sanctuary, I saw all the flags of all the various faith traditions, so that made me feel pretty comfortable. I was like, okay. I saw this strange thing in a beautiful stained glass. They have a beautiful, in Oakland, a beautiful stained glass of this thing called the teaching symbol. It's gorgeous. I knew not what the heck it meant. I was like, well, that's not a cross. I don't know what that is, but maybe I'll find out. And then they did this song called I Need You. That was the first song I heard. And tears streamed down my face, and I knew I was home. I was in foundations class that Tuesday night, 2 days later. The rest is history. Still can't show me John Neese? I trust my slides will forward at some point. Hey, John. Give John some love. Now here's the interesting thing about John. He had only been in that community for 2 months before we met. He was in my foundations class, and he was singing in the choir. Okay? That's about what I knew of John. We were in foundations class, and 2 weeks after I started in foundations class, he didn't show up anymore, and he was gone from the community. I never saw him again in that community. And as I continued on my path of taking class, I was there every Sunday as much as I could be, et cetera, because I was like, the spirit within said, this is it. You better get busy. I took it seriously. But he left. And people in that community said, John's sole purpose was to bring you. You have a John Neese. You do. I want you to think of who that is for you. Someone, even if it was Google, something told you about CSLDallas, the science of mind, this faith, this philosophy, the way of life. Just as big in you as you can, I want you inside yourself just to shoot some gratitude to that, whatever it is, even Google. Like, so I want to go to the beginning and somewhat the end of this amazing textbook called The Science of Mind. I know at least one person has it in their hand. I saw it in his hand. And I want to start at the beginning. And because I started in foundations, right? And they said, well, you have to buy this book. I'd never heard of Ernest Holmes before. I had never heard of religious science, science of mind, whatever. I was like, okay. And I turned to the very, very first ever page with writing on it, other than, what year it's written. And it says, these lessons are dedicated to that truth which frees man from himself and sets him or her on the pathway of a new experience, which enables him or her to see through the mist to the eternal and changeless reality. I love that. The next one is even better, or as good, called Peace Be Unto Thee, Stranger. Read that when you get home to your book. It's beautiful. So there is something, he says, these lessons, doesn't call it a religion, says lessons, to free me. And so I start with the very first thing. It's called the thing itself, which that's another word for God, Spirit. And I want to share with you what Ernest Holmes says. We all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible. He didn't say from the invisible to the visible. He said from the visible to the invisible. Science knows nothing of opinion, but recognizes a government of law whose principles are universal. Yet any scientist who refuses to accept intangible values has no adequate basis for the values which he has already discovered. Revelation must keep faith with reason and religion with law, while intuition is ever spreading its wings for greater flights. And science must justify faith in the invisible. To suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create man or woman in bondage and leave him and her bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we call God. To suppose that God could make man or woman as an individual without leaving him or her to discover him or herself would be to suppose an impossibility. Individuality must be spontaneous. It can never be automatic. The seed of freedom must be planted in the innermost being of man. But like the prodigal son, man must make the great discovery for him or herself. Because our month is on freedom, I'm going to continue. We see abundance in the universe. We cannot count the grain of sands on a single beach. The earth contains untold riches, and the very air is vibrant with power. Why then is man weak, poor, and afraid? The science of mind deals with these questions. I have a few, do you? The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. The truth points to freedom under law. This is spiritual law. Thus, the inherent nature of man is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope. A life wonderful in its scope. Of a love beyond our fondest dreams. And a freedom which the soul craves. I move a little further, and he's talking about there's nothing supernatural about this study of life. He says, let us then approach the science of mind with awe, but not with fear, with truly a humble thought, but not with a sense that we are unworthy. So you cannot approach this as unworthy. You are not. Let us approach it normally, happily, willing to accept, glad to experiment, hoping and believing that as the result of our efforts, we shall each of us derive a great good. A sound understanding of the natural laws of life as they apply to the individual and his or her relationship to the whole universal scheme of things. Wow. Just let that sit for a second. This is what he's telling us, the thing itself, life, is all about. And that we get to do this in our own individuality, as we each want to do this. And we get to take up these lessons. As we choose to take up these lessons, and how we choose to take up these lessons, how often we take up these lessons, if we take up the lessons at all, right? But it's our own journey. So we're talking about transforming lives. And transformation, again, going beyond our form, so we're going beyond our spiritual form, sometimes is fast, and sometimes, most of the time, perhaps, it takes time. Ernest Holmes tells us that we do not change all of the patterns of our thought in a moment. Has anybody changed all the pattern of their thought in a moment? I want to know you. I want to know your secret. Oh, darn it. Okay. Up. Here we go. Rather, it takes place little by little until gradually the old thought patterns become transformed into new ones by some inner alchemy of the mind, the operation of which we do not see. We can't see it, but the manifestation of which we do experience. So this takes time. How long did it take? Just grab one pattern of thought that you know that you have that you would like to release. How long did it take? Shout it out. Keep coming. Still working on it. Years, a year, this. I mean, some of mine have been going on for over 50 some odd years. So it takes a little time. And that's okay. Are we dedicated to the time? Oh, we'll get it again. Gary, just click it when you can. Takes time. Yay! Perfect. So, we want to grow a new thought. Okay? We got some seeds in our hands. And we want to grow a new thought. And so we're going to take care to put it into the ground. And we're going to need to start watering it. We're going to need to start nurturing it. Now, let's think about the things in nature that grow out of the soil. Think of things you've seen grow and how long that can take, right? And let's say you plant a tomato seed. And how long? Somebody that grows tomatoes, I know some of you in here do. About how long does it take to see the plant come up? 10 days, 2 weeks, right? So in that 10 days, 2 weeks, do you start going, I don't think it's going to come up, I don't think it's going to happen, et cetera, Do you dig it back up and say, better plant it in some different soil? This patch doesn't work. Do you leave, and say, well, let me go plant something else, I'm giving up on that? Not usually. We have faith. We have faith that that is going to grow. Well, I'm bringing a particular example forward for us today because this stuff takes time. Recently in a class, I actually had someone share with me that they dropped out of moving towards one of our big classes called Inward Journey because they couldn't let go of the negative thoughts and they didn't feel they were spiritual enough. I mean, it was great that this person admitted that. And the next thing out of my mouth is, I have yet to get to that place. It happens to me all the time. I'm growing. I'm transforming all the time. And this actually took a big weight off this person's shoulder because they had set me or Dr. Peacher or whomever in their mind that we don't go through this stuff. And I went, oh, are you kidding me? All the time I go through this. But I have spiritual tools to nurture, to water, to grow, to transform my life. Anybody ever heard of Chinese bamboo? The farmer that planted those seeds that I just showed you, they water, they nurture, they tend to it pretty much every day to ensure that this grows. But they don't see a thing for 5 years.
Wow.
Not a thing for 5 years. So at any point during that, if they say this stuff ain't working and they abandon it, that's not happening. But yet, in the 5th year, when you see the little things start to pop up, it grows 80 to 90 feet in 6 weeks.
Wow. Whoa.
Now, did it just start growing in 5 years?
No.
The first 5 years, what it was doing was growing its roots, growing its foundations, growing them wide and deep and strong, getting that solid foundation so when one could see the transformation, one could really know the transformation was here and it shot like way up, the roots could hold it. They didn't fall over. We got a forest. This is transformation. I believe this thing called science of mind is like this. But if we ever move away from it, if we, neglect it, if we tend to something else or the next new thing or it's a phase, let's run over there or whatever it is, 80 to 90 feet in 6 weeks, when it's ready to say, I've transformed, it changed its form in a really big way. We tend to our health. We can't abandon that. If we do, what happens, right? We tend to our relationships. If we abandon them, what happens, right? We tend to a lot of things that sometimes doesn't feel like this is the same with our spiritual growth and transforming our own life. It's good stuff. So we stick with it. We don't have to get it right away. We're always growing. We're always learning. We're always seeing new evidence of how each of our lives are transformed in our faith, in our philosophy, in our way of life. For these past 11 years, there have been times where I've questioned, like, really? I don't know if this stuff is true or not. Even in ministerial school, I was like, really? What if this is just a bunch of hooey? Because I had met some hooey before. I had believed in the hooey. I bought the hooey. I ate the hooey. I preached the hooey. Like, yeah. And then, not that all of it's hooey, because there's some really good, rich stuff. But there have been times where I go, really? But I haven't ever left it. I've kept working it. Last week, our beloved Tracy Brown said we teach and practice. We practice and teach. And that's what we all do. We teach and practice, not just the ones called teachers in a classroom. We are each teaching and practice and teach, watering, tending, and sometimes there are times like it's like, bam! And then guess what? Then we're there, and then we're going to teach and practice and teach and keep doing that, and then there's another bam! And sometimes we go, bam! thank God I know what to teach and practice and teach to lift me back off the ground. Yeah. Because it's not about eliminating any dis-ease or anything. It's knowing how to keep transforming my life. It's for you to know how to keep transforming your life. So I want to share. I got several, I sent out an email to the actual members of our community and said, how has CSL Dallas and or Science Mind transformed your life? And many people wrote to me. Some gave videos. It's wonderful. I only am sharing a few. We're going to use others as we go. Anybody else that wants to do that you didn't get the email or didn't, quote, hit the deadline for Wednesday night, send it to me. RefKaren@CSLDallas.org. Anybody out there that watches us, that Science of Mind has transformed your life, write to me, RefKaren@CSLDallas.org. So, as it so happens, the practitioner that prayed today was Myrna. And Myrna Lopez Trevithick said, CSL Dallas has given me tools to use prayer, one of them, and to change the direction of my life. I learned how I am the director of my own movie. Oh, I like that. And that I have the power to create what my heart desires. I went from being a very shy, quiet, not confident person to a woman that is able to now speak her word, to claim her own power, and to realize how amazing, happy, and abundant my life can be. Yeah. Yeah. Long-term member, Dennis Eady. Dennis said, I had felt bits and pieces of joy my entire life while not having any portion of my being actually reflected. But now, I express each day with ease and joy. I have discovered the peace in living life from the inside out. I acknowledge universal divinity. I have said goodbye to worry and doubt. I have learned to relax into the blissfulness of being one with all creation. I have experienced the magic that happens when my will is in alignment with thy will. I have come to the realization the universe is here to support and guide me in all I do. Yeah, two things Kia Tillman. She hasn't been in the community that long. CSL Dallas has transformed my life in so many ways. If I have to choose just one, I would say CSL Dallas has given me the tools to live my best life. I no longer feel stuck or afraid of my inner critic, my ego. I now push past my comfort zones, knowing that I have the power of the one universal intelligence to guide me. God's love is surrounding me and within me at any given moment, and that will never change. So I now realize that I have the freedom to be completely vulnerable and step out on faith, knowing that God loves me fully without conditions. Because of this, I now have the confidence to meet new people, speak wholeheartedly in front of others, and show up as a leader. This is only one of the ways CSL Dallas has transformed my life. And then the last one I'll share for now is our beloved Bert Hedden. How has CSL Dallas transformed my life? I go right to the core, the teachings of Science of Mind. 40 years of studying the Science of Mind have completely changed my life. The teachings have been responsible for many of the successes of my life. They have nurtured and supported me through the inevitable heartaches, downtimes, and pain. Science of Mind is a way of life, ever transforming, ever changing way of life. I always have it with me. Yes. So, here's what I would like for you to do. You have 2 minutes. That means 1 minute each. I want you to turn to someone and share with them, just decide who goes first. How has Science of Mind or CSLDallas changed your life, transformed your life, and or if you're new, like this could be your first day, and it hasn't affirmed how you want CSLDallas or Science of Mind to transform your life. You get 2 minutes. Go. Okay, right what? Come back. Y'all did really well. I don't know, I got pretty emotional telling Willie how Science of Mind has transformed my life. Hold on to that. Hold on to that because it's really important. It's important. And I just want to tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone else.
You're on camera.
It's like,
I was going to say something funny, but it might not have been, so I won't. Where we shoot up and where we build our roots, the both and, is in our transformative classes. Self-study, I don't think, will get us as much transformation as we would like. Maybe it will. So I'm not telling you it won't, because all things are possible as God. And Sunday messages won't. Our classes. Get in to Foundations in September for the sake of the transformation of your life, if you haven't taken it. If it's been over 5 years, take it again. You're not the same as you were 5 years ago. If you take it again, 80 feet, 6 weeks could happen. Many people take classes over. I know many people in this community that's taken Inward Journey several times. You want to know what Inward Journey is? Ask me, ask a practitioner, ask people, have you taken it? Have them tell you how it's transformed their life. It's the classes. We're going to, for anyone that's not physically in Dallas and a part of this community, we're going to be doing online classes starting, I think this fall, a lot more next year. It's the classes. That's the secret. This is especially important. I'm going to tell you why I devote so much time to teaching and practicing the science of mind, and practicing and teaching the science of mind. If we could click. Here. Because transformed people transform people. It doesn't end with us. So as we are transformed, we help transform other people. Richard Rohr, quote from him. So you see what happens as we commit to transforming our own life. It does create a world that works for everyone and a life that works for me. It's a both and. And when these small things called transformation are multiplied by millions and millions of people, we do transform the world. So by transforming and being committed to our own personal transformation, we transform the world. Now, here's something that I'm just going to ponder and have you question. I'll never forget when I first arrived in Dallas. It was the first regional practitioner meeting that was held, and I was in the room. And Dr. Peters said, we were talking about, some faiths have proselytizing. And there was a lot of discussion of, oh, no, we're not going to do that. We don't proselytize. No. And she said, I believe we hoard this. We hoard it. We keep it to ourselves. Now, before becoming a minister, what my career was before was sales and marketing. And many of you may have heard this phrase. If you're going to go out and talk about something good, whether it's a product, a service, whatever, there's this great phrase to keep in mind. It'll help you to face the next person before you share. Some will, some won't, so what? Some will, some won't, so what? I'm asking us to spread the word about science of mind. It's not the only way. It is a way of transformation. It's a way, whether it's our only faith that we practice and teach and practice. It's a way if we practice and teach another faith. That's what Ernest Holmes originally wanted to do with this textbook, was to let people go deeper wherever they were. We now have people coming and taking classes that belong to other faith traditions because they want to transform their life. Don't hoard this. If John Neese had not told me about a place in Oakland, I would not have the life that I have that brings me great joy. And everyone that I'm around brings me great joy. I love my God, tears of joy that I was told about this. Someone could have hoarded it and not told me. And I might have tripped upon it. I might have stumbled upon it. But for 40 years I hadn't. Or whatever that was, I don't know. 39. I invite you to teach and practice this in your life. Teach it meaning, just talk to somebody about it. Some will, some won't, so what? It's okay. But someone might be waiting, because I was seeking for 4 years once I left the church that I was with before. And I brought what I loved with me, as you know, the teachings of Jesus. And it's like, bam, I came alive. Because the first thing I learned was there is not a God outside of me up there. It's here. And that changed everything. So it's time for centers for spiritual living, which there are over 400 in the world, to come alive because it works.
Amen.
This shit really works. And if it doesn't, great, go find something else. But don't give up too soon. Come alive. Come alive.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, come alive. Come alive. Come alive your life. Let it burn so bright. Reach it up to the sky. And it's open wide. You'll learn to fly. The world becomes a place. The boy you go everything. The dreaming with your eyes wide open. And you know you can't go back.
part of our online community. Every time you watch us, you belong to CSL Dallas, and we're so happy that you're part of our community. And we love providing you this kind of spiritual message. So if you want to keep seeing this, please donate. You can donate at csldallas.org/give, or you can text 972-954-4404. Be part of our community and sit back and enjoy the message.